So today we're focusing on one of the most underrated parts of our business, in my opinion. Bookkeeping and taxes is something that nobody really wants to talk about or even do. So, what makes it so difficult and how can we make it easier? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to track your income and expenses and how to use tools like Jane software to make it even easier. And how to avoid common tax mistakes that RMTs often make. We'll also break down what you're actually paying on taxes, why you have to pay taxes, and what it really means when people say, write it off. Let's break down how self-employed taxes actually work. Before we go any further, let's go over to YouTube so that we can make sure that we see the full video. Okay, when you're self-employed, you're responsible for paying your own taxes. This is different from being an employee, because as an employee, your employer will take care of it for you. But as a self-employed RMT, you're on the hook for income tax, CPP, and GST. What exactly is income tax? Well, this is the money that you owe the government based on your earnings. It's calculated as a percentage of your net income, which means that your income after expenses has been deducted. Now, how about CPP? Here's the kicker. As a self-employed person, you pay both the employee and employer portion of CPP. That's about 10.9% of your income. If you were employed, your employer would cover about half of this, but as a sole proprietor, you're responsible for covering the whole thing. So if your revenue takes you over $30,000 per year, then you will owe GST. You will be required to register for a GST number and collect taxes from your patients. This isn't your money, okay? You're collecting it on behalf of the government and you have to pay it back. GST in BC is 5%. So keep that in mind when you're running your taxes and collecting that payout at the end of the month. Now, if you're a brand new RMT, my suggestion, if you are planning to see more than 20 clients a week, I would go ahead and register for your GST number right off the bat. You will need your GST number when it comes to tax time, but most likely you're going to be over that $30,000. So you may as well go ahead and register for that number right away. If you're using a software system like Jane app will actually automatically track GST for every transaction that you run. You can find this in the revenue report and see how much GST you've collected. Okay, so here's how it works. If your total income is $60,000 for the year, but you had $10,000 in business expenses, you will only pay taxes on $50,000. Here's what an accountant will ask you at tax time. Accountants are going to want some kind of a report to show the total income, payment methods, and tax collected. If you use Jane, this is called a revenue report. They're also going to want some kind of a report that's going to show fees that you've paid to the clinic, like room fees or service fees. On Jane, this is going to be called your billing summary. Next, accountants will want some kind of way to verify your income and find any missed expenses. You can usually get this off of a bank statement. Next, you'll want to save those receipts because they're going to ask you for any receipts that you have had for your business. So oil, lotion, or any other types of materials that you have purchased for your business. Last but not least, they're going to want to know your mileage because, believe it or not, you can actually write off a portion of your vehicle from going to and from work and going to gather supplies for yourself as well. So they will want some sort of a mileage report, gas receipts, and any other insurance forms that you have to do with your vehicle. You'll want to make sure that you keep other receipts as well, such as a phone receipt, your rent for your house or mortgage, your hydro bill, Fortis bill, anything like that that is going to help you serve your company to be able to satisfy what you need to do within your business to complete your work. I've even written off dinners and a couple vacations where I've done workshops. So once you've gathered all this information, what else can you do to make tax season a little bit easier? You can pre-download a lot of these reports on Jane to make it easier when it comes to tax time. Do this on a monthly or quarterly basis so that you have them ready to go. You can hire an accountant prior to tax season as well. Don't wait till April to find one. Save and label all your receipts, and make sure that you use a separate bank account for your business aside from your personal bank account, and have different cards attached so that you can print those receipts and reports easily from your bank statements. So as a sole proprietor, you're responsible for paying your taxes quarterly. Here's what to do. Set aside 20 to 30% of every payment that you receive. Mark your quarterly deadlines, March, June, September, and December. Use Jane's revenue reports to calculate your total earnings and multiply it by 20 to 30% to figure out your estimated payment. Now, if you underpay, you might owe some interest, but if you overpay, you'll be able to get a refund at the end of the year. Now, what about those write-offs for tax season? Write-off is not free money. This doesn't mean that if you buy something as a self-employed person, you get all the money back at tax time. It's actually a tax deduction. This is why tracking your expenses is so important. Every legitimate business expense that you track reduces your taxable income and means that you're going to pay less come tax season. Jane software or similar can make it easy to track revenue and fees with things like a revenue report and a billing summary report. Well, if you found this helpful today, stay tuned for part 3. I'll be sharing with you some of the best resources for managing your taxes and bookkeeping. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss it. If you have any questions about self-employment taxes and how they work, drop them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them in part 3. See you next time.